that's doing this. So it's okay.
I
There's
just record. Sorry.
yeah, there's cloud recording. Josh is usually pretty good about that. He's my AV guy, I jokingly say. He's been doing this for so long. We record these and put them up on YouTube, and Vimeo is where our old archives are till like August 2018. So everything after that is usually up on YouTube. Study group. There is still a study group. I hear. Fortunately, whoops. I didn't take that off. That's funny. Sorry, I'm trying to go back. Okay, there is a study group. Has anybody attended the study group recently? I know I have not had cycles, so unfortunately it's during the day, and it is
Yeah,
what
I
it
went
is.
to the last one.
Yay, Bailey. Okay. So that is still going on. If you join the OWASP Boston Slack channel study group, you can find out all the information, or send an email to matt.pardo@owasp.org, and he'll connect you up. And it's usually barrels of fun. A lot of good learning there. LastCon 2020 was canceled, but 2021 is in our view right now. We are working to get that all spun up, making all the basic contracts with our different vendors and other things of that nature, and sponsors finding that, but we're working on it as we speak. We hope to have it on the end of October, not necessarily the 29th through the 30th, but that last week of October, like 25th through 27th or something like that. I'm not sure, but we'll look for more information coming soon. Unfortunately, wow, I really should have copied this from November. We didn't have the Austin Security Professionals Happy Hour, but we hope to have those when we can get those back up at the brass tap in the domain. There are lots of other local events like AHA, ISC Squared, Cloud Austin, ISSA, and ACP are all events that are here in Austin that have all gone virtual, and they're all really still very good about stuff. At least I think AHA is. I don't see announcements about them. I know they're bound to be doing that now.
AHA's actually moved to 2 meetings a month, so they're doing even more content now virtually.
Wow. So yeah, they're doing a lot more. So yeah, if you want to really get connected to the Austin community, these are some good groups, and I know there are bound to be many others, but I don't have them yet. So if you have any more information, if there's information to people, please talk about it. Now this is the time we take a 2 or 3 minutes or more and say, is there any job opportunities, people looking, or any things they want to talk about of offering of open positions or anything of that nature?
Hey, this is Sylvan Tran. Amazon is hiring a lot of security positions, and they're ramping up in Austin. So you can go look at amazon.jobs, and there should be quite a few entries there.
Very nice. They are getting a huge site here in Austin. So many companies are moving here to Austin. It's great for everybody who's already here. Anyone else? No.
Hey, should we try setting up a virtual happy hour? Would anybody be interested in that?
I would.
We've done a few at Denim Group, and it's pretty fun. Probably a lot more fun than I sort of thought. So yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Yep, I'm game.
Yeah.
Should we just all play Among Us? Sounds like a good happy hour.
So that's a good idea. Maybe we'll look into seeing if we can kind of, because we got the Zoom and things, we can do this or someplace else too. So not a bad idea. Speaking opportunities, earlier Kate mentioned that she is the speaking coordinator and she is looking for 2021 folks. We have a few kind of on deck, but we're still looking for more. I think we have at least 8 spots left after this month is already gone. I think we have maybe 1 or 2 that are those full, so we still have some spots left that we're looking for speakers. And if you don't want to speak at OWASP Boston, there's always going to be LastCon hopefully coming up, where we'll have a CFP and a CFT coming out soon. But Kate Imbrew at OWASP.org is the speaker coordinator. Yeah. And I don't know if I saw Beth. I think I messed up. I think I meant to let Beth run the membership one. Sorry, my habit of doing this. But now presenting, let's see, is Josh. I just thought I'd leave it blank because really Josh doesn't need much introduction. He's been with OWASP Austin for so many years and done so many activities for us, and he's such a great resource for this environment. And so pass it off to Josh here and say, have at it, sir. Josh is Josh, you're muted.
There we go. Hey, everybody, I'm Josh. Welcome to the OWASP Austin Crypto Party. I mentioned earlier that this is actually we've been doing this for several years now. I think going back to like 2014, 2015. We skipped a beat in 2017, but we've been doing this ever since. And, talking with Kate and Kyle and Tiana and whatnot, we all feel like this is really, really important for us to be doing. For those who don't know, CryptoParties, they've been around for a very long time. And the whole idea of the CryptoParty is that we are talking about security and privacy related subjects in a way that even a novice can pick it up. So anybody should be able to attend the CryptoParty and immediately understand, the different topics, things like that. Real quick about me, I'm Josh. I'm the CEO and founder of Simple Risk. I moved full time to that back over a year ago. Before that, I ran the information security program at National Instruments. I'm a former Austin OWASP chapter leader, a former OWASP global board member. So like Kyle said, I've been around for quite a while. I know where the bodies have been buried. So how I first learned about CryptoParties, I saw an article and it was talking about Edward Snowden, and his first move against the NSA was this party that he had in Hawaii. It was basically done in a very small art space behind a furniture store where, he had all this other stuff going on kind of behind the scenes. But he was basically talking to people about how to learn about cryptography, how to learn about privacy and security and things like that. And so I saw that and I was like, wow, that's really neat. So like, forget what he did after that. The whole idea of being a part of a community where you're talking about these things openly, I think that's pretty cool. And so back in 2015, I first approached the chapter and I said, hey, I'd like to run a crypto party, and we'll do it in the January OWASP meeting. And it'll be our first meeting of the year where we'll just kind of try and get everybody together to talk about this stuff. And I think the very first one we did, we even exchanged like public-private key pair and stuff like that. It was a really cool event. In general, crypto parties are supposed to be free and open to everyone. And they're especially geared towards people who don't have prior knowledge, people who haven't attended one yet. And we really try to vary the different topics, the different talks that are going on. So each crypto party is going to be completely different. 1 year I talked about Signal and how to make private phone calls. We talked about password managers and things like that. Everyone is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to learn at each of these meetings. CryptoParty in general is a decentralized movement with events all over the world. And the goal is to pass on knowledge about protecting yourself in the digital space. It may be encrypted communication, maybe how to prevent yourself from being tracked while browsing the web. It may be general security advice regarding computers and smartphones. And for those who kind of question, hopefully there isn't anybody on here who's questioning, why do we need a crypto party? But for those who don't, this kind of thing is happening every single day. In this case, this was just this past year where the United States government was looking at a new bill, and it was called the Eliminating Abusive and Rampant Neglect of Interactive Technologies Act, EARN-IT. And this basically is a way that they would effectively restrict encryption. And the ability for private companies to do encryption, and the ability for the government to view the encrypted information. And so you'll notice, some names on that and things like that. Trump signed an anti-privacy bill into law. This was some rules around file sharing individual browser histories with marketers, political campaign managers, things like that. And it basically blocked the FCC policy from going into effect. So it kind of shafted on the consumers. Other things, this came shortly after EARN-IT. It was called the LAED, which is Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act. And again, this is basically government wanting to be able to get access to your private data. And then this one was a French bill. You may have seen this in the news. This was pretty big when it was happening. But in this one, they were basically talking about police officers. And it actually had fines for anybody who basically took videos of police officers, any means, any medium whatsoever, with the aim of harming their physical or psychological integrity. So it was left very vague, very broad, so that literally anybody who was watching a police officer commit a crime and recorded that, they were the ones who were held liable and could be put in prison or fined for disseminating that information. And then the last one that I pulled out here was around COVID vaccines. And, you know, we're all very, very familiar with everything that's going on in the world with respect to COVID. But now they're talking about these things called vaccine passports, which is basically the ability to demonstrate that you have tested negative for COVID. But when you start looking at this, there's these questions about privacy. And, you know, vaccine passport isn't just a piece of paper. It's an app. It's a system that proves that you've been vaccinated. So there's all these questions about, you know, whether this violates our privacy, having all this information in a centralized database and things like that. I like this quote. I think I found this on the CryptoParty website a while back, but it said, "Privacy is the room in which ideas develop, where you can reflect on those ideas whenever you choose. This room is not only physical, but digital as well. Neither governments nor corporations respect that, but we do." And then they also say that CryptoParty can't teach you everything there is to know about computer and internet security in one meeting, but the objective is to tear down these mental walls which prohibit people to even think about these topics or pick them up as they occur throughout their lives in newspaper articles, blog posts, educational pictures, and memes. There's lots of information out there, but often people don't consider themselves able to process it. They don't have the education or the career background or whatever. And that's really the whole idea of these crypto parties, is we want to change that. We want to make security and data privacy accessible to the masses. So with that, today's agenda, I just walked through kind of our introduction. We're going to kick it off with talk about free HTTPS with EFF CertBot with Mark Spears. We've got a talk on password managers. We've got a talk on security at home, and then I'll kind of finish it off with securing your cryptocurrencies. So with that, Mark, go ahead and take it away. Mark, you're muted.
That's a constant struggle for me, hopping on a meeting and just muting myself. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. I think I need to enable GoToMeeting to share. It's in process of sharing right now. Give me 1 second.
It's okay. You know any good jokes while we're waiting?
No, not really. I'll leave that to the rest of my team. So, all right. So let's talk about free HTTPS. So recently, I've had many conversations with other companies we provide security to. My name is Mark Spears. I'm a senior security consultant at Solid Security. We do everything from blue team and red team, purple teaming. We have a whole IR department. We do forensics, root cause. I'm with the red team, obviously. We do pen testing and all sorts of security funness. Our job is absolutely like probably the most wonderful job to have every day of the year. So with free HTTPS, we've been talking a lot about this. Everyone wants to know if it's okay to use. There's a few things that happened last year where they made the news, but let's go ahead and talk about Let's Encrypt, right? They're basically a free organization offering certificates throughout for anybody. What's a game changer for them is that they've automated the whole process. So you don't have to sit there and go back to GoDaddy, generate a new CSR in your IS box or whatever you're running and go submit that. 100% can be automated. Unless I think you're doing an actual wildcard certificate. So let's see here. So this is Let's Encrypt. You see the amount of sponsors behind them. A lot of people are asking, well, are they going to be around forever? I'd say yes, with the people who got behind this whole movement. So it's pretty amazing. What Let's Encrypt does is they provide these certificates, and what CertBot does is it is one of the tools you can use to auto-generate certificates. So there's a whole FAQ over there. If we go to CertBot itself, it's provided by the EFF or the Electronic Freedom Foundation. I ordered one of their beanies. I ask everybody, if you're going to use free stuff, go support them in some way. Just go buy a t-shirt, a beanie cap, or something cool. Because if they're giving stuff for free, it's a good way to support. So they've got a whole way over here to tell you how to use the CertBot. I've actually set up a live demo this morning. I have a website up and running. You guys ever heard GoFish? Maybe not. All right, so I'm actually going to give some stuff away to my teams here. We have other people in the company who are here. This is one of the phishing domains that we bought. So I've got a Linode set up. Over here, if I go ahead and run the Linode.
And Mark, I don't think it's showing up on the screen here. We see CertBot browser. There we go. All right, it's up.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, what I just pulled up for a second was the Linode itself. I just told GoFish to start. So I've already done most of the setup on the GoFish. What's interesting about GoFish is if I kill this, there's a config file that comes with it where you can set up. Let's see if I can get this font bigger. So it comes with its own config file. It's written in Go, fully self-contained. And if you look at it, there's an admin server that runs on 3333 that uses a built-in key, but that's not going to work for your average user because it's a self-signed key. The actual phishing server, they have an example cert, but again, that's not going to work for everybody. So, and the setup for GoFish is actually 2 pieces, which are kind of interesting. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. Is you have to set up a postfix server. So I've already gone through and done that this morning, where the postfix is not encrypted yet because I didn't do anything with it. But I actually already put in the commands to make this actually work securely. But by default, if you try to send an email for phishing with just port 25, it's not going to work. So, or it'll take forever to get there and get caught in everyone's spam filter. So, so this has been set up. The website itself is set up, but nothing is secure yet. You see, we're not secure up here because we're using a self-signed certificate. If I try to go to a web page for this domain, let me start the fish server again. And if I try to go to any page in this domain, it's going to show up as not secure. So again, it's not running an actual certificate on here yet. So there's no real chain to go see. So let me go through and set up GoFish on here and show you guys how easy that is to do. little bigger. So installing GoFish or installing CertBot is just as simple as running an app. It installs very fast. All right, that is done. Now what that's going to do is that's going to put some information over here under a directory called Let's Encrypt, which right now is empty. Okay, so I need to actually go use this now to go create a certificate. So I'm going to run actually a wildcard request. So there's a whole help file into here, but I'm just going to say assert bots, assert only for the domain, star dot huntress.cloud. I want to do it manually, and I want my preferred challenge to be DNS, right? So it's going to actually saving dev. Oh, it says enter email address for renewals. So I'll just put my company address. Read the terms of service. I'm going to say agree. And can I share my email with the EFF? Sure. So it basically just said, we're going to obtain a new certificate. And then am I okay with my IP being logged? I'll say yes again. And then it comes down to the bottom here. It says, please deploy a DNS text record under the name _ Acme-challenge with this following value. So Acme is the protocol that runs CertBot itself, right? And the Acme protocol isn't designed by EFF. It's designed by Let's Encrypt, right? And I think it's in its second iteration now. So all these apps are all they're doing is running their own Acme protocol, which has actually been it's been adopted by with the ISTG or whoever runs those internet groups for that. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to copy this value out of here. And I'm going to go into my DNS settings. I'm going to go add one. Add a text record. And it's going to be called Acme Challenge. And the value is going to be what they just told me to put in there. And I always go through and change my customizations here to 600 seconds, because if you make a mistake, you have to wait a day or 10 hours for that stuff to get fixed. So go ahead and save that to your DNS record. And then I'll go through really quickly and wait for it to propagate, which if I go under here to MX Toolbox, I'll go select text record lookup. It doesn't find it yet. Well, it's going crazy now.
Mark, while it's loading the DNS, do you maybe want to talk about what a DNS challenge is and maybe the other kinds of challenges that are out there?
Yeah, this DNS challenge is third-party services will use them to verify you own your domain. That's a great question, Josh. So basically, you know, it just shows that you have control over what we're looking for. So I think if I go into here, I see underscore acme dash challenge .huntress.cloud, do a text record lookup for that. And there it is. And there's the value they gave me. Starts with a Y and ends with an M. So now if I go back into my bash window here, I can see that it's in there. It's been propagated. So CertBot should be able to find it within their protocol. So I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to go out and validate that that key does exist. It's taking a little longer than normal.
Did you remember to pray to the demo gods?
No, and I was good. So we're done. Okay, so here it is. You know, it says cleaning up. Congratulations, you have a certificate now, right? And it tells you it's been saved to that Let's Encrypt directory. Yeah, and there it is. So my key file is here. My full chain file is there. And there it is. So now I can actually turn around and I could go, we're already in that Let's Encrypt directory. So if I do an ls, we can see now I've got keys, renewals, accounts, hooks, a whole bunch of more information is now in there. So I can now go, if I go cd live, ls, cd huntress.cloud, and then ls, and there's my full chain, and there's my private key, right? So here we go. So now I need to use it, right? So fortunately for me, you know, if I go cat my postfix file, right, you'll see I've already put in the full chain into here. So if I look over here are my TLS parameters for sending an email, I've already told it don't use snake oil, I've commented that out, and use my Let's Encrypt live huntress.cloud/fullchain.pem file. And for the private key, we told it to do the same thing. So that's actually set up just fine. Now, the other thing I need to do is I need to host this on a web server that we saw that wasn't encrypted earlier. So what I need to do is copy. See, am I in the right directory? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to copy the fullchain.pem file to where I installed GoFish at. And I'm going to copy the private key file over there as well. I could have done a symlink for you Linux guys. I just didn't. But that way you can leave the files where they were, but you can also move them around so they can work like you normally would for installation to other servers. All right, so now if I go to my GoFish folder, we can see I now have the priv key and the full chain certificates in there. So that I can go now edit my web server file. And I could say, use those file names, right? So since they're in the local directory, I can go say certificate path would be fullchain.pem, and we got privkey.pem. So, and make sure I turn TLS on to be true. And we can exit this. And I could run GoFish. And if I go back to my website, huntress.cloud, let's run a refresh. We now have a secure lock page. Connection is now secure. So, and my email would be secure as well by the same exact certificate that's on the box. So if I click on the certificate itself, we can see that the root is actually from X3. So one interesting thing to note out is that the Let's Encrypt people did not have a valid root certificate. So they went to Trust, what's that domain called? They went to another company and borrowed theirs, right? So there's actually a relationship between them and someone else who gave them the valid root certificate that works. So I believe there's some information in that trust chain on the Let's Encrypt website. If we go into their documentation, you'll see that the actual group that runs Let's Encrypt is called the ISRG. And then behind them is these transparencies, compatibility, and where the trust is actually located at. There's some more information here on who owns the actual trust for this. So it works. So we can actually run this through SSL Labs. You do it real quickly here.
Mark, 1 minute left.
Okay. Go to www.huntress.cloud. Oh, wait, hold on. SSL. Well, we may not have enough time for this to wait to come up, but so there's a whole host of things you can do with the CertBot. Other providers or cloud providers are building their own physical, CertBot version for what they're using. If you don't have access to CertBot in your cloud environment, you can always call them and they can actually get one for you. But the certificate chain fully trusts and it's good to go. You can absolutely copy these out and renew them automatically using CertBot. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. Anybody have any questions?
Awesome. We don't have time for questions, unfortunately. We're going to have to move on to the next person. Mark, thank you so much for sharing with us the CertBot and how all that works. By the way, if anybody is interested, there's a company called SSL Mate that does a really good job of wrapping automation around everything that Mark just showed. So check it out. We use it at Simplest and it's fantastic. Awesome. So next up is Berthold Kolix talking about password managers and LastPass specifically. Mark, you should be able to turn off your screen share, and Berthold, you should be able to hop right on. And if you're talking, we can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
All right. Can you see my screen too?
Yes.
Awesome. So here I'm going to be talking about password managers. My name is Bertolt Collex. I'm a QA manager at a Boston-based company. I'm often, talk about myself as a question asker. I've been mostly in developer, tester, test manager roles in the past. Here's how you can find me. Um, um, uh, as Josh, when he called for speakers, he mentioned that, as if you were explaining to your grandpa or father, this is the level of this talk too. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about password managers and then one particular implementation from LastPass. And, at the beginning, just do I need more than one key? Yeah, of course. In real life, we all have physical keys, and we carry more than one, because if I lost one, and I only had one, then the person getting the key could get access to all of those. So, and if you similar in physical life, you can control who has access to what. If you have keys for each important door that you want to unlock, and of course you want your locks to be hard to pick, if not impossible. There are these are your keys on the internet, and we need to keep them secure, away from the eyes of the hackers. We want to keep them unique, so you want to have a different key for each door you want to unlock, and hard to guess. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is one of the most common passwords used nowadays by people, which is not very good. Using your anniversary is not a good way to set up the password either. Just bear in mind that the internet is open 24/7, and there is a lot of public information available to all those bad guys. So just that's what make it easy for them, right? But how do you remember them all? The important point here is that you shouldn't, and you shouldn't remember them all, because um, and this is where password managers come in. These are your safety pieces of the box for the internet. You can keep them securely and do so much more. And I have a few examples further down here. And and you really just need one master key to rule them all. We call them, they are called them master keys. And you want to make it really, really hard to guess. So you have more characters, the better, using special characters and numbers for that password, for the password manager, to your safe deposit box that you want to have. And a few ways I've tried and using it, and I've seen it. One of them is, I really like this project, password card Lord, that generates this unique card for you that you can print, you can laminate it, and you can figure out a way to maybe a scheme to select certain characters from each row or every other row, and maybe mark it on a paper until you remember it, and then maybe just save it some secure place if something were to happen to you. But just keep the card with you, and once you remember how you came up with that way of picking a master password, nobody else can, looking at the card, can figure out what that is and what the password is, because it's just your way of picking those characters from each line or each color is yours, and it's unique. The other popular option is using Diceware, which is like a list of published words, and you can find it at this URL. You roll the dice 6 times, and each number is matched to certain words, and then you can just put the words together, and it's gonna create a good long password. And you can practice it and memorize it. But what I also try to do, and is just in case something were to happen to me, I put it like in a real life safety deposit box, my master password. Definitely not as a sticky note on your monitor. That's like a really, really bad idea. But that way, if something were to happen to me, my loved ones or whoever has access to the box, they can still have access to my wallet if I wanted to. And password managers do even more. they help you generate secure, hard to guess passwords, so you don't have to come up with ideas. And when you're visiting the same website other times, then it can fill in your username and password, so you don't have to. And they are doing it all by doing secure communication over the internet. Not to mention that sometimes you want to share your passwords or credentials with your family or friends. This way, you never have to email or text your passwords without any kind of protection in clear text. Most email clients that we use nowadays, they don't encrypt anything. And it's not just for passwords. You can use it for any kind of notes, like securing some sort of text that you don't want anybody to look at, or copies of important documents like images. You can store them securely there too. One of these applications that I started using a few years ago, and I still stick to it, even though sometimes I'm upset about the user interface. But I think for the most part it works well. It's called LastPass, and LastPass is available as a browser add-on, an extension for when you're using a desktop or a laptop, and it comes as a standalone app as well. You can download it, or for your mobile device, then you can download it for the App Store, Android Store. The important thing here is that once you create this service, set up the account with LastPass, you have all your secure data will be available to you no matter what device you're using. And some of the solutions, some password managers, of course, come with the operating system, but they may tie you to that particular operating system or ecosystem that only works on Apple computers, or only works here, or only works if you are using Firefox or some other browser. So LastPass, solves that kind of problem, that it works across different browsers, different devices, and operating systems as well. This is one of the reasons why I like it. Here's just a few screenshots that I wanted to show as you are going through and using it. For example, I go to this website. I like, swapping paperback books with others. So if you go to paperbackswap.com and you sign up, you can generate a password just by clicking on that little icon that now shows up next to password fields and LastPass fields that in. And it will suggest this password. It just fills it for you. And once you signed up, it prompts you to, hey, do you want to add it to save it to LastPass? Oh, yeah, sure. Let me just add it for you. So next time you go back, then visit the site, then it will fill it for you. And you have a secure password. You will never have to remember this password. In fact, it's good that you can't. And here I'm using a mobile app as a site, so just to show you how it feels in the information, the experience. It's like the City of Austin Library's website, where I have an account, of course, and then it just fills it in for me. They don't have a mobile app, so I have to use the web browser there, but I can also just fill in my password from LastPass. So this is just a convenience there. Also, there are times when you should change passwords. Sometimes you change locks on your house too, right? And it's a good practice in this day and age to, every once in a while, every 3 months, 6 months, to change your most critical passwords. And when you do that, then LastPass typically detects those changes, and hey, it just prompts you, hey, I've seen you updated your password. Let me update it for you in your password vault as well, which is again very convenient. And as I mentioned, it's more than just for password. And in fact, for example, I use it to store important documents or photocopies of that. Like, I have my driver's license and just take a photocopy of that, and I also upload it because I know that it's stored securely there, and I don't have to worry. But last year, somebody stole my wallet, and I had all the information I needed, not just the number, but everything else from, because I had a copy saved in. And that was actually, I realized when I was filling out the replacement for that, then I had all the information on that image. So sometimes it's not obvious. So you can store bank accounts, driver's license passwords, social security numbers if you want, or just secure notes. Even addresses is nice because it can fill out the addresses on the website that you're supposed to enter, like shipping information or so on. And of course, even for when you're storing a password, you can add some notes to it. So this is where some sites you can have the option to do a multi-factor authentication, and those sites typically give you some recovery codes in case you don't have access to that second factor, like your mobile phone or a hardware key to log in that they may ask you to provide in addition to your password. Then I can save, for example, recovery codes here, so securely. Not to mention that here's this option in LastPass, so you can share it with your friends or family, those credentials if you wanted to. And just as a recap, don't use the same password across multiple sites. That's a bad practice. It's like using the same key to open all your doors. You cannot and should not remember all your passwords, because this is what password managers are for you, and hopefully this is the last password you do have to remember, that master password to your vault. And LastPass is free for basic usage, but there are paid options available for advanced users, or you want to have a family subscription. You want to use, for example, hardware keys, which is possible. A few other things that I didn't mention that I really like about LastPass. It doesn't lock you in, so you can export all your data as well. So you can download it. So if you want to move to another. The other option that I also like that I didn't cover here, but maybe a more advanced usage, you obviously have certain keys or passwords that are related to your work and your personal life. So LastPass allows you to segregate those and create a different identity for work accounts and home accounts or personal accounts. And that way you can switch between the two, you don't mix the two. Yes, and as I mentioned, they also support, if you are a more advanced user, more serious about security, using hardware tokens such as those from YubiKey or Titan keys as well, which is nice. So yeah, I mean, that's it for me. Just don't forget your master password. They cannot access your credentials, which is great because that's the way they decrypt your vault. So this is it. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I didn't go over the time. If you have any questions or want to think of, this is how you can reach me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Bertold. Really appreciate it. Fantastic presentation. By the way, if anybody wants a free open source version of a password manager, you may want to check out KeePass, KeePass. Very similar to what Bertold shows, functions in very much the same way, but you don't put your trust in another company online or whatever. So great option there. Awesome. So we're going to keep it moving with Bryn Schulke talking about security at home.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, let me see if I can get my screen shared. Okay, can y'all see my screen?
Got it.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Bryn Schulke. I'm new to OWASP Group. I'm really excited to be here. And I'm going to talk about 5 ways that you can be a security hero and practice good security at home. So a little bit about me before I start. I'm a security system administrator at TechnoGizmo. It's an IT consulting service, technically in Dallas, but I'm here in Austin because Austin's way cooler. Anyways, some things I love. I love text-based adventure games. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Sierra games. Those are some of my favorite. I love writing. Also love baking. It's one of those pandemic trends I've picked up. And most of all, I love being a security hero. And after this presentation, you're going to be one too. All right, so, well, why should you care about being a security hero? Why practice good security at home? So when I'm talking about security at home, and Bertold kind of had some examples that were similar to this in the last talk, but I don't mean physical security like like locking your doors, your windows at night. I'm talking about your home wireless network, your Wi-Fi, and all the devices that you connect to it. So it can be easy to forget that your home Wi-Fi needs to be protected, just because unlike your front door, you can't easily see who's going in and out of it. But if you're not actively trying to secure your home network, it's like leaving the front door wide open when you go to the grocery store. You're pretty freaked out when you get back. Oops, did I just move that over there? Sorry, let me move. You can take these videos away. Problem with working multiple screens. Anyways, so leaving your door wide open, you go to the grocery store, you come back, you're like, oh no. So it's the same thing for your network. If an attacker connected to your network without your permission, they could get into that fancy work computer your company gave you, or they could look through your private files in your home computer. And either way, that would be really bad. So that's why it's up to you to keep your devices safe by improving your home security. So now that we understand why it's important, let's talk about 5 easy ways that you can improve the security on your home network. So number 1, make sure your Wi-Fi is password protected. So ask yourself these questions. When you connect to your Wi-Fi on a new device, does it prompt you for a password before you can finish connecting? If not, your Wi-Fi is not password protected and you need to set one. Also, don't settle for the one that comes with the box. Sometimes companies will use the exact same default password for every device they sell. This is like the key to your house being able to open every house in your neighborhood. You definitely don't want that, and neither do your neighbors. So make sure to set up a unique password for your Wi-Fi. Your router's company should have instructions for you to set this up. And again, the last talk talked about great ways that you can have a unique password. So number 2, know it's connected to your network. How many of you know it's connected to your Wi-Fi right now? If you don't, find out. Checking what devices are connected to your Wi-Fi is the easiest way to see if someone or something is on your network uninvited. There's several ways you can do this depending on how tech savvy you are. Some routers like Linksys or Google Wi-Fi have a really easy to read list of connected devices. So Google Wi-Fi, which that's the picture I have here, it's my Google Wi-Fi, is especially nice because you operate the router from an app on your phone. Your computer, you could also get on your computer and it can show you a list of devices on the same network it's connected to, but sometimes that list isn't as complete. So however you go about it though, if you see a connected device that you don't recognize or maybe that looks suspicious, you should change your Wi-Fi password. It might be a pain to have to go back and reconnect everything, but it's worth it if A, you can figure out what the device is, and B, if you can block it from your network if it's not one of your devices. So number 3, keep everything updated. This is really important. Almost everything that connects to the internet is a computer. So, you think your laptop, desktop, mobile devices, it's an obvious example, but all your smart devices are little computers too. And just like a computer, they have some kind of operating system or firmware that helps them to run. And just like your computer, that firmware needs to be updated. So in summary, if any of your devices tell you they need to update, do it. Updating your devices helps to keep them, and by extension, your Wi-Fi more secure. So number 4, pay attention to app updates for your smart devices. So you probably have a lot of smart devices at home. It's very popular. There's smart refrigerators, cool LED bulbs you can turn off and on with your phone, thermostats, and then the most obvious ones, Amazon Alexa and Google Home. So you'll sometimes hear these things called IoT or Internet of Things devices, because like I mentioned before, they connect to the internet. Your smart toaster may make great toast, but remember, it's also a computer. So you know what your smart device does, but we often underestimate what else it can do. When you buy a new device, a lot of people will just set the thing up, it works, and then you move on. You expect it to continue to operate the same way pretty much forever. So, but the company can modify its behavior with a single app update. Now, like I mentioned in the last tip, updates are really important to keep your device secure, but sometimes a company will add non-essential features that might create some security problems. For example, Amazon recently added a new feature to Alexa's called Sidewalk. So this feature allows your Alexa device to connect to others like it to create what's called a mesh network. And Amazon claims that this will allow you to stay connected to your Wi-Fi over a larger area, which sounds good. However, Amazon makes that mesh network happen through using your device to connect to other devices that are outside of your home, which is the opposite of what you want to do to be secure. It's also an opt-out feature. So Amazon turned this on for you, and it's up to you to turn it off. As a quick side note, if you have an Amazon Alexa at home and you haven't turned this off, it's on right now. So obviously this is a problem if you don't want to connect stuff outside of your home. But if you didn't realize what features are being installed with your new app update, you might not know about this and have yet another accidentally open window into your private Wi-Fi. All right, last one, create and use guest Wi-Fi. So guest Wi-Fi isn't just for coffee shops and airports. You can set it up and use it in your home too. Now, why would you want this? Okay, well, think about when you have guests over. Maybe you'll close the door to your bedroom or your office, and not just because it's a mess, which is normally my rooms, but it's because you don't want anybody hanging out in there. That's kind of a more private space. So you're doing the same thing when you have a guest network. If someone comes to visit and they want to use your Wi-Fi, they can connect to your guest network, and then they'll be separate from your private network. They don't need to be able to print to your printer. They don't need to be able to connect to your work laptop. Like, they just want to watch YouTube videos and not have to pay their data plan. So while you may not be having a lot of people over right now because, you know, pandemic, another great way to use guest Wi-Fi is to connect some of your smart devices to it. Any devices that you don't need to log on to directly, you know, ones that can use an app or something. So like remote controlled lights or maybe your thermostat, those you can connect those to your guest Wi-Fi. It's unlikely, but not unheard of. There's actually like a famous story about a casino that did that. This happened, but for someone to break into your network through like a seemingly harmless smart device, because again, when it's on your private network, you can see everything else in the network. So your router company should have instructions for setting up a guest network, and if you use an app to manage your internet, like, it's even easier that way. They usually just have like a little toggle that you can press. So anyways, you might be thinking, well, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a fancy corporation. No one want to break into my network. No one cares. I don't have any money. Please come take my bank account. And however, just like if you left all your doors and windows open, an unsecured home network is a really tempting target. When you take steps to protect your Wi-Fi and your devices, you drastically reduce the chance of a compromise happening. But don't stop there. Keep learning and reading about new technology and ways you can continue to practice good cybersecurity methods. It may seem like a lot of work, but you're a security hero now, and you can do it. Let's go keep our homes safe. Thank you.
Right on, Bryn. That was a fantastic talk. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, we're going to keep it moving. And I am going to actually give this last talk to you guys. So I have been working quite a bit lately with cryptocurrencies. You know, when we're looking at crypto, I feel like I'm dropping a lot of coin on it. And that's because the price is going up like crazy, right? The price of Bitcoin, it's changed over the last week or a couple weeks or so, but hit over 40,000 at one point for one Bitcoin. I think now it's sitting around 32, 33, 34, something like that. But there's this issue. Bitcoin can be stolen. And if you don't do the right thing, if you don't know how to keep your Bitcoin safe, it's very easy for somebody to actually take advantage of you and to steal it. So I thought, hey, why don't I give a talk on how to prevent my Bitcoin from being stolen? Sounds pretty cool. So the good news is that only 4,472 coins were publicly reported stolen in 2020. That's a 92% decrease from the previous year. But you still don't want that to be you. Even worse, there's a lot of articles that we're talking lately about lost Bitcoin wallets. I think there's a dude who's trying to pay the city like $20 million worth of Bitcoin if he can dig through the trash or something like that. There's another guy who's had multiple offers to try and recover his Bitcoin key, and he only has 2 guesses left before it's gone for good. You don't want to end up like that. If you're doing investing in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency for that matter, you don't want to end up like those guys. So what follows are some tips on how to securely store your Bitcoin in a way where they won't be lost or stolen. So tip number 1, don't store your Bitcoins in a web wallet or exchange. If you're using an exchange, that's fine. That's fine to buy your Bitcoins or whatever, but you own exactly 0 Bitcoins if you don't actually control your private key. And a great example of this is Mt. Gox. This was one of the first crypto exchanges that were out there, and Mt. Gox got hacked actually multiple times, and Bitcoins just flew out of the marketplace. So at one point there was 25,000 coins which went missing or stolen from 478 different accounts, and at that time the value was about $8.5 million. With today's prices, you're looking at literally like billions of dollars. So don't leave your money on exchange. This what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use what's called a hardware wallet. Hardware wallet is basically cold storage, where you're using some sort of hardware appliance that's designed to host your cryptocurrency. There are apps that you can run on your phone, things like that. There's one called Samurai Wallet, which I played with for a little bit, but really the best approach is to have an actual hardware wallet. That guy on the left, that's called a Ledger. Ledger, you can buy what they call a Nano X for about 120 bucks on Amazon. The Nano S is about 50 bucks. The one on the right is called a Trezor, and there's a Trezor 1 for about 60 bucks, and Model T that's about 175 bucks. But look at it this way. That is a very small investment to ensure that your very large investment in Bitcoin or whatever currency stays safe. In the case of Ledger, it also comes with a companion app called Ledger Live that assists with managing Ledger. It assists with updating the device, sending Bitcoin, receiving Bitcoin, all that stuff, and also provides you the ability to track your portfolio value while keeping your actual Ledger offline. So you can throw your Ledger device into a safe, and you can still use Ledger Live to follow how well you're doing in the Bitcoin market or whatever. The second tip for you guys is to buy your hardware wallet directly from the producer or Amazon site under the producer's name. So if you're buying a Ledger, go to ledger.com or go to Amazon to the Ledger store and buy it from there. Once you have acquired that, verify the integrity of the hardware and wallet if you're extra paranoid. For one, I'm extra paranoid going into there and actually verifying that that device is the device that I purchased, that it checks out, that the software checks out against them, against what they say should be that software. I want to make sure of that so that I'm not getting somebody who like resold one where they know the wallet key on Amazon or whatever. Tip number 3, don't trust strangers on the internet to help you set up your personal wallet. You wouldn't trust strangers on the internet for just about anything else, financial advice or whatever. So don't trust them to help you with your wallet. It's something you have to do yourself. You have to have at the very most, a personal friend or a family member to help you, but they're not going to see your backup seed. You don't want them to see that because the backup seed is effectively your wallet. It's a way to recover your wallet from scratch. And I'll talk about that in a second. Tip number 4, update the firmware of your hardware wallet before using. It's incredibly important. Your hardware wallet basically has a firmware chip in it, and you want to make sure that that is running the actual software, the latest version of the software, so that you don't have bugs. And this kind of goes back to like what Bryn was saying. We want to make sure that we are running the latest versions of the software because it fixes vulnerabilities and bugs and things like that. Real quick, there's something called BIP39. BIP39 is basically the protocol that these wallets use for recovery words. And there's several hundred recovery words that can be used to basically restore a wallet. What they do is they select random words, and then those words can be used to get back to the original key to recover your wallet. So you're going to get, depending on the device, it's either going to be 12, 18, or 24 of these BIP39 words, and you're going to want to write them down and put them in a safe place. So those aren't my recovery words. You won't get anything from that. It's just a random screenshot that I found on the internet. But those words are the words to recover your wallet. So you want to put them someplace safe. Which leads me to tip number 5. Keep your mnemonic, your 12 or 24 word secret, safe, private. Don't show it to anybody. Don't post screenshots on the internet like this one here. Never use pre-made word backups, because if you're using a pre-made backup, then somebody else made that and they have access to that key. So you're going to want to have it automatically generate a random set of those 24 words. You will want to capture those words and write them down someplace safe. In terms of someplace safe, so if you look at that, my Ledger came with one of these guys as well. It's just basically a card that you write those things on, which is all fine and dandy. But if you really want to keep it safe, you want one of these things. This is a Kobo tablet. I purchased this on Amazon for about 45 bucks. This basically gives the ability to take all the letters. These are metal, steel letters. You basically unscrew this device. So these panels are screwed in there. You put the letters in there and then you screw it back together and you close it up. This is fireproof, it's waterproof. So if anything were to happen in your home or whatever, and your Ledger device gets damaged, you don't lose out on that. You still have this thing that you can recover from because you have those 24 words or whatever that are stored in this device. So make sure that you have access to that. Tip number 7, once you've set up your hardware wallet, transfer a small amount of cryptocurrency to it. Don't transfer your $1 billion worth of Bitcoin or whatever. Just transfer a few Satoshis or whatever. Wipe it clean, restore it. Make sure that you understand what that process is to do a backup and to do a recovery. In my case, I actually purchased what they call a Ledger backup pack, which included both a Nano X and a Nano S. And I tested this process when I set up the second one. I did the second one with the same recovery key as the first one, so I knew I was able to recover that particular device. Tip number 8, never invest in any investment scheme or get greedy thinking you can quickly increase the amount of Bitcoin you have with day trading. I talk to people all the time who are like, well, you know, I'm going to sell here, but then I'm going to buy here and whatever. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, Bitcoin is pretty volatile. There are lots of peaks and valleys, but the best way to get rich with Bitcoin is just to hold it. And then tip number 9, never brag about your wealth to others. You know, anytime you send messages out there and say, hey, I've got a lot of money, you should do this, it just puts a spotlight on you. It makes people want to take advantage of you. So keep that in mind. Mark mentioned this earlier, but there's a couple of charities that focus heavily on privacy. EFF was the one that he mentioned, fantastic organization for defending civil liberties in the digital world. The other one is American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and they handle a lot more of this kind of stuff in the physical world. This is, I think we're basically out of time at this point, but real quick, we had Beth, I think, wanted to say something. Beth, do you want to talk real quick?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much, Josh. Before everybody goes, we did put a survey link in the chat, and I just sent it again. That's our 2021 Q1 membership survey. So if you guys wouldn't mind spending a couple minutes to fill it out, we would appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming to the January 2021 Crypto Party. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Adios.